G'day, welcome back to the channel and welcome to this edition of MGUY EV News for Monday the 27th of May 2024. One of the things that people seem to love about EVs is that you can charge at home, but what they don't realise is that by fueling your car at a petrol station, which is a controlled environment which has all the safety requirements needed to deal with the issues that you might face when you're refueling a car with a flammable liquid like petrol, for example. But when you're charging at home, you're on your own. Something goes wrong, you've got a big problem. So there's quite a lot of safety issues around charging at home. And this is just another example. Kia warns Niro EV owners not to charge indoors over fire risk. Kia is recalling the Niro EV over a battery safety plug that can melt and cause a fire. Kia is recalling 2,209 Niro EVs from the 2022 model year. They have a high voltage battery safety plug that can overheat and melt, which can cause a fire or a loss of power while driving. According to the safety recall report, the contact surfaces of the high voltage battery safety plug may develop high electrical resistance over time. Kia isn't exactly sure why, but the automaker believes the issue is related to a supplier deviation in the manufacturing of the female-female terminal. Regardless of what's causing the electrical resistance, it can result in a big issue if it occurs while the vehicle is being charged or driven. In particular, that's when the safety plug can melt, causing a loss of power and/or start a fire. Kia first became aware of a potential problem in July of 2023 when they received a report of a Niro EV shutting off while driving and a dealer found the safety plug had been melting. The automaker looked into the issue, but it appeared to be an isolated incident. So yeah, refueling a car, whether it's with electricity or with fuel, is a dangerous business. It can be a dangerous business. And so the fact that we refuel our petrol cars in a controlled environment is actually far safer than charging at home, for example. And this is something that people just completely overlook. Okay, part one of Cybertruck insanity for today. Tesla Cybertruck owner fails to resell EV after it doesn't fit inside house. Netizens say if you can buy a $100,000 truck... A Cybertruck customer faces restrictions from Tesla on reselling the vehicle within the first year of ownership. Social media reacts to the reason behind the desire to resell the EV due to it not fitting in the owner's complex. A Cybertruck customer recently shared his ordeal of being unable to resell his electric vehicle because of bizarre restrictions imposed by Elon Musk's Tesla. The EV maker has prohibited Cybertruck customers from reselling their vehicles within the first year of their ownership. Apart from Tesla's bizarre restrictions, what caught social media's attention was the reason behind Cybertruck owner's wish to resell his newly bought vehicle. According to a social media post, ex-user Blaine Radden realized that his newly bought Cybertruck did not fit inside the complex where he lives. The revelation left him with no option except to return or resell the electric vehicle. Tesla has refused my request to sell my recently purchased Cybertruck. They do not want to buy and have told me I can't sell. It does not fit into the complex I live. I found that out the day I bought it back. What can I do? Not trying to make a profit, Tesla Elon Musk. Well, you could have measured your frickin' garage before you bought the thing. How about that? Idiot. So if you want your Cybertruck to withstand an electromagnetic pulse attack, then this is what you need. A crazy tinfoil, not a tinfoil hat, but a tinfoil tent. This high-tech tent can prevent EMP attacks from crippling Cybertrucks. As Tesla's Cybertrucks continue proliferating, I think that's a bit strong, on public roads, the electric vehicle industry appears one step closer in the evolution toward becoming increasingly complex computers on wheels. But amid recent threats of electromagnetic pulse EMP attacks against Israel by Iran or the United States by Russia, and the recent film ISS, the attention of many electric vehicle owners has turned to the potential for a bad actor to use a device that renders all electronic systems within a blast area inert. In response, a company based in Santa Barbara, California, called Mission Darkness, recently unveiled a tent called the Cyber Silent that is specifically designed to protect Cybertrucks from EMP attacks. Mission Darkness developed a proprietary nickel-copper coating that attaches to polyester to prevent radiation penetration, and dubbed the result Titan RF Faraday fabric. The tent then uses adhesives to prevent stitching from causing tiny holes in the fabric, and the doors require 3 rows of neodymium magnets to reduce the chances of unintended ripples or folds in the material. Mission Darkness spent a year developing the door alone. I mean, all I can say is there's one born every minute. If you've got enough money to buy a Cybertruck, I guess you can buy a frickin' tinfoil hat for it as well. The ABC. If you tell me any subject, any news topic, I could immediately tell you what the ABC's view on it would be. Like, without a doubt, I could tell you. And so when they do a fact check on whether electric cars are better for the environment than fuel-powered cars, you can guess what conclusion they're going to reach. It's all very well, there's lots of links and stuff, lots of data, but I'm not even going to read it because I know what the freaking answer is going to be. But I'm not even going to waste 2 minutes of my time reading this article because I know what it's going to say. Over the ditch in New Zealand, they're actually imposing road user charges on EVs, which must come as a bit of a shock to EV owners who've been used to getting everything for free for the last 5 years. Road user charges for EVs, many yet to sign up with deadline just days away. Road user charges for electric vehicles were officially introduced on April the 1st, but Transport Minister Simeon Brown announced a 2-month grace period before fines would kick in. That extended deadline is now just days away, but NZTA Wakakatahi revealed uptake figures to the Herald. Only just over half of EV owners have registered for RUC and prepaid as required for their first block of mileage, which costs $76 per 1,000 kilometres for a full EV and $38 per 1,000 kilometres for a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, or PHEV. Specifically, as of Friday morning, 59,523 had purchased their first RUC licence out of a total 105,000 EV and PHEV owners. NZTA sent a wave of reminder notices late last week. Well, the privileged inner city classes that own EVs aren't used to having to actually pay for anything because they've been given such a free ride for so long, but now they are. Welcome to the real world. This guy, Ross Clark, is one of my favourite authors on this subject. He writes in the UK Daily Telegraph. I've linked a lot of his stuff in previous videos. Article in the Spectator. You should definitely check this out, not least for that brilliant graphic, which I will be stealing and using on some of my thumbnails. China is often characterised as a copycat when it comes to industry and technology, but in one way it has proved to be a pioneer. It was China which saw the first boom in electric cars, and it was China that was the first to suffer when demand for them collapsed. The vast graveyards of unsold vehicles found in Hangzhou and other Chinese cities are the result of a huge, subsidised push to manufacture electric vehicles, demand for which has never caught up with supply. Rideshare services bought the vehicles in a rerun of the great cycle share fiasco of 2018, which led to piles of unused and unwanted bikes, but private buyers have been notably less keen. Where China leads, the rest of the world seems doomed to follow. With China's manufacturers struggling to sell their electric cars at home, last year they started shipping them in large numbers to Europe, where many are now accumulating in ports at Rotterdam and Antwerp. The window in which to sell them may prove small, as the EU is considering measures to prevent the dumping of cheap Chinese cars in Europe. The Biden administration has already taken action, increasing tariffs on cars imported from China from 25% to 100%. While that may put paid to Chinese imports, it won't do anything to alleviate unsold stocks of US-made electric cars. The great electric revolution that was promised just 3 years ago is already failing, and it will bring the car manufacturers down with it. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Go and read it. Link in the description. So those of you who saw my video on how there's not enough copper being produced in the entire world to provide for the EV and net zero transition, this is what we should be doing: recycling copper by stealing it from charging cables. Thieves target EV charging cables at rapid charging sites in latest wave of car-related crime. Since November 2023, InstaVolt has reported 174 cables stolen from 27 sites. Thieves want the copper wiring, but the amount's so minimal it isn't worth much. The disruption is undermining the reliability of the charging network. The electric vehicle charging industry is the latest target car crime, with cable thefts said to be on the rise. Experts are warning that thieves are after the copper in cables at rapid and ultra-rapid charger sites in a spate of criminality dating back to November. Autocar says Instavolt, Britain's largest operator of rapid chargers running Osprey Charging and BP Pulse, have had 174 cables stolen from 27 sites since. Nottinghamshire residents first flagged up the issue of missing charging cables at the Malting Retail Park Northgate and at Waitrose Ossington Way in November, around 7 months after 4 Osprey high-powered EV chargers were first installed in Northgate. This type of charger has a cable attached to the charge point which the EV owner plugs into their car in order to charge it. Well, speaking from personal experience, if I leave an old appliance on the street for collection, somebody will come along and cut the cable off. Because apparently, there is a market in used recycled copper. And these cables, capable of carrying hundreds and hundreds of amps of electricity, are thick. They've got lots of copper in them. They would be worth stealing, I have to say, if you wanted to recycle. Not encouraging it, but I'm just saying there's a lot of copper in those cables. And it's not surprising that, less desirable elements in our society will use that as an opportunity to make a bit of quick money. This is another issue around the safety of charging compared to refueling. These chargers are just out in the wet, out in the rain, out in the middle of nowhere with nobody around, compared to a filling station, which is a very highly controlled environment. I know which I'd rather fill up at. Again, this is great that it's in Tom's Guide, which is a massive website, and it just shows how reality is hitting home for people now, because they're told, just buy an EV, you can charge it overnight, easy, then you can drive for 400 kilometers or whatever, charge it overnight, too easy. But the reality is, unless you've got a special 3-phase charger at home, if you just rely on your standard socket at home, it'll take you 2 days to charge your EV. You can't charge it overnight. There's just not enough power in the grid to do that. And this is coming as a shock for some people, quite literally, if you've got wet hands. I tried charging an EV at home and it was a shock I wasn't expecting. Patience is definitely a virtue here. In my deeper dive into the world of electric vehicles, I'm continually learning more about the quirk and nuances that surround them. One of the common misconceptions for first-time EV buyers is that you'll need special equipment in order to charge the vehicle at home. You do, actually. That's not true because EVs come with a level 1 charger that lets you conveniently plug into a standard household outlet. Yeah, but you know what the problem is with that, don't you? Even though I test drove a Lexus TX 550h Plus PHEV for a week, what a mouthful, I was unable to charge its battery because it unfortunately didn't come with a charger I could use at home. But luckily I didn't have to wait long because I got to test drive a Hyundai Ioniq 6 sedan that came with one. After driving it around for the first couple of days to get its battery level down, I finally needed to charge it at home by the 3rd day. One of the main incentives for me to drive an all-electric vehicle is how they can take me away from paying the outrageous pricing on gasoline this summer. And with Memorial Day weekend here, gas prices are up just about everywhere I've checked. However, I was in store for a shock after charging the Hyundai Ioniq 6 at home for the first time. Here's why. When I finally plugged the Hyundai Ioniq 6 into a 120-volt outlet outside of my home, the battery level was 36% with an estimated range of 135 miles. Fast forward 14 hours and 33 minutes later, I proceeded to get into the Ioniq 6 only to realise it managed to get to just 42% overnight. That's 6% of the battery in 14 hours. See, this is what people do not understand. They think, oh, I can just plug it into my regular socket and it'll be charged in the morning. No, it won't. No, it absolutely won't. You need to get a 3-phase, is the best you can do. 3-phase charger, 22 kilowatts. Your average electric socket from home is so weak at charging, you'll probably get maximum a few kilowatts out of that. And if you've got a 60 kilowatt battery, you're going to be looking at 20 hours maybe to charge it, maybe more. People just don't understand this. I'm really glad that a website as public and well known as Tom's Guide, is exposing these obvious problems which people just don't understand. And this is a story I've covered before, but worth repeating. EVs chew through tyres. Normally you could get away with maybe, 20,000 kilometres, 30,000 kilometres if you're driving sensibly. But with EVs, it's often less than a quarter of that before you need to buy new tyres, because ridiculous levels of torque damage them and chew them up. Electric car drivers face astronomical costs. That's a bit excessive, not quite astronomical, to replace tyres. Hefty batteries are forcing owners to change wheels after just 7,500 miles. The weight is the other thing. The mass of the car on those tyres also causes them to wear quicker. Electric car buyers should be aware of the astronomical costs required to regularly replace short-lived tyres, owners have warned. Car lover Jim Bassett, well, he's not a car lover if he's got an EV, for God's sake, managed just 7,500 miles in his brand new Volkswagen ID3 before being quoted more than £300 to replace the rear rubber. The 80-year-old stumped up the cash after being told it was common practice for tyres on his rear-wheel model to degrade rapidly due to the weight of the vehicle. And in a related article from a few weeks ago, the fact that EVs chew through more tyres means that they're putting more particulate emissions actually into the environment than many diesel and petrol cars. As this article explains, tyre toxicity faces fresh scrutiny after salmon die-offs. For decades, concerns about automobile pollution have focused on what comes out of the tailpipe. Now researchers and regulators say we need to pay more attention to toxic emissions from tyres as vehicles roll down the road. At the top of the list of worries is a chemical called 6-PPD, which is added to rubber tyres to help them last longer. When tyres wear on pavement, 6-PPD is released. It reacts with ozone to become a different chemical, 6-PPDQ, which can be extremely toxic, so much so that it has been linked to repeated fish kills in Washington state. The trouble with tyres doesn't stop there. Tyres are made primarily of natural rubber and synthetic rubber, but they contain hundreds of other ingredients, often including steel and heavy metals such as copper, lead, cadmium and zinc. As car tyres wear, the rubber disappears in particles, both bits that can be seen with the naked eye and microparticles. Testing by a British company, Emissions Analytics, found that a car's tyres emit 1 trillion ultrafine particles per kilometre driven, from 5 to 9 pounds of rubber per internal combustion car per year. Yes, that's true. Internal combustion engine cars cause this problem too, but EVs do it far worse. Unintended consequences. Yet again. That's just about it for this one. Really hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye for now.